Welcome to an episode of Overtime. Today I'm interviewing one of my favorite people in the world, Jack Harbaugh.
What a fantastic compliment.
My
Thank
grandpa.
you. And one of my favorite persons as well.
Best grandchild? Favorite?
Just don't tell anyone else.
Okay.
You are my
No
favorite.
one will ever
But just don't mention that to any of the grandchildren. Will you promise me that?
I promise.
Okay.
They
You
will
are my
know.
favorite.
That's what I thought. So you were a coach for 46 years. How many schools?
We moved 18 times,
Wow.
and I think we were at 14 different institutions, starting out in junior high school, Canton, Ohio,
Wow.
then an assistant coach in high school, head high school coach, assistant in college, and then a head coach in college as well.
Wow. So you were a head coach for 19 years?
19 years.
We're at, or I know we're at, Western Kentucky.
Well, it started out, the first head coaching job was at Western Michigan University. We left Stanford back in 1980, took the head coaching job at Western Michigan, and then after having been shown the door, pointed in a different direction, resurfaced as the head football coach at Western Kentucky University.
Everything. I can cut it.
Started out as head coach in 1981 at Western Michigan University after we had been at Stanford. We were there for 5 years. And then University of Pittsburgh, we were there for 2 years as an assistant coach. And then in 1989, we went to Western Kentucky University, where we spent 14 years. And
Won a national championship?
I was so happy that you mentioned that. In 2002, we won the 1AA National Championship, retired, and then on to Marquette, where we were with your dad at Marquette. I was associate athletics director for 5 years.
That was fun.
That was fun.
That
Right
was a
down
lot
the
of fun.
street, right?
Yeah. And then
We
you
were-
guys stayed in Milwaukee for a while.
We did. When you moved to Indiana, your family moved to Indiana, we stayed in Mequon, Wisconsin for 14 years. So 14 years at Western Kentucky, 14 years
Wow.
in
I didn't know it
Mequon.
was
28
that
years of our married life were spent in those two places, even though we moved
Yeah.
18 times. So that's
That's
interesting.
crazy. You have an amazing wife.
We all
Best grandma.
well, people will say, they always say, they always talk about whatever, and they always say to me, and I always say, marry wisely. The thing that I did in 1961, I was so lucky that she allowed me to be a part of her life. She raised our 3 youngsters while she allowed me to be a coach where I could be involved with others' youngsters. So
Yeah.
it's a true.
Well, that's great. She's the best. You have to be lucky. You have to find the perfect wife if you're a coach.
Let me tell you a story. Back in 1957, went to Bowling Green State University, my freshman year. One of the classes that I had in my freshman year was Football 101. Dwight Perry, our head football coach, taught the class. And there were about 35 of us in the class, and we were sitting in the rows, and Dwight came and he said, "How many in here want to be football coaches at some point in time?" All 35 of us raised our hand. "How many of you want to be successful football coaches in your lifetime?" All 35 raised their hands. He said, "I'm going to give you the key to success. This will be the first question on the final examination. Write it down." He said, "I'm going to start with number 3. Number 3. So I'm writing out number 3. You must have a love and passion for the game of football. Love and passion for the game of football. Number 2, you must outwork all those that you're going to compete against." He said, "Now I'll tell you why I know that you need to outwork them. I've recruited all of you, and I know there's no one in this room that's going to outsmart anyone. You have to outwork them. Number 2, outwork all those that you compete against." Wrote it down. Now it's number 1. Number 1, like a drum roll. Number 1, marry wisely.
True.
I had that down. The first question of that final examination I had right, and 4 years later I married wisely, and the rest of my life has been a dream.
Oh, I love that. So how long, you guys have been married, how many years?
58.
Wow.
5-8. 58.
That's inspiring. I mean, I hope to have a husband that long someday. A good one.
And the thing about, and I know you know this, Megan, because your dad and coached and you moved around a little bit, but you got little kids in the house. I walk in and tell her that we're moving from Bowling Green to Iowa. And that's it. There was really no real discussion.
Yeah.
Do you feel that's a good move? It's a good,
You don't have a
going
choice.
from Bowling Green, a Mid-American Conference school, to the Big Ten, Iowa. For me, I had to do it.
Yeah.
So I get on an airplane the next day and go to Iowa. She's there to get the kids out of school. Then she has to figure out, how going to change houses. We were renting at the time, so that wasn't a problem with selling a house. She had to do all that. Arrange for the furniture to be packed up and moved to Iowa. Come to Iowa, find a school for those kids to be involved in. We bought our first house. I had nothing to do with it whatsoever.
I don't doubt that.
You know how that works, right?
Yes.
Nothing to do with it. She just one day said, "Come on, let's take a ride." There's our new house on Talbot Court.
She's amazing.
Wow. And so she did all of that. And then we moved. We're there 2 years. And then we get a call from the University of Michigan, who at that time was Ohio State and Michigan were the two powerhouses in the Big Ten.
Still are.
Bo Schembechler saying, "Come coach at the University of Michigan." "Jackie, we're going to Michigan." Now she has to find a way to sell that house, buy a house in Ann Arbor, take the kids out of that school, move them back into the Midwest to Michigan, and she did it and never once blinked. But now that I look back on it, I mean, what a fantastic sacrifice that she made for our coaching career.
And she
So
loves football just as much as you do.
well, you've been in the stands with her.
She loves football.
There's no question about it.
Love and hate.
She doesn't. She's not real fond of officials,
No.
especially when they make calls against her kids or Tom's basketball. Although neither of us know much about basketball, but Jackie is an expert on basketball officiating.
Oh, she is.
She is so passionate, and we have as much fun and joy, being around athletics and being around our family as we did when we started this whole thing, 58 years ago.
Wow. So what's the greatest thrill in all your years of coaching?
Ooh, boy, that's a tough question. As I look back now, my greatest thrill never occurred when I was coaching. We were fortunate enough at Bowling Green back in 1959, our team won a national championship, which is equivalent to 1AA. We beat Delaware for the national championship. So we have a ring and then at Western Kentucky in our last game in 2002, we won the national championship. So we have a ring that can attest to that. But my greatest thrill takes place now. And what I mean by that is we're sitting at home. It's about 4:30 in the afternoon, right between the two Judge Judys, the 4 o'clock Judge Judy and the 4:30 Judge Judy, and the phone rings. And it's from a former player. And he is just sitting at home and he just, "Coach, I just wanted to call you and tell you and Jackie how much I appreciate what you did for me. You remember when I was a sophomore and I was thinking about quitting football? And I came into your office to tell you that I wasn't going to play anymore, and you said da-da-da-da-da. I can't remember him ever coming into my office. I can't remember saying da-da-da-da-da-da. But for him, he's remembered it all his life. Now he has a family, and he has children, and he's doing well and making a living for his family, and he points that out. That's the greatest satisfaction that I get as a football coach, is looking back looking back on those players and seeing what a small part we had in their lives.
How much has football and coaching in general changed since you were a coach in 2002? Like the game changed, the coaching changed.
The game has changed a lot. It's a lot more schematic now. By that I mean, you run in 3 players, we have to match your 3 players like a chessboard. In the old days, you played 11, we played 11, we played until the game was over. Now they match up positions, you match up personnel, you scheme, 3 over here and 1 over here, and we're going to motion, and that blows my mind. My mind is not big enough to comprehend all of that. That just blows my mind. I just sit back and I'm amazed. But the fundamentals of the game hadn't changed, blocking and tackling, and that's what I always fell back on as a coach. fundamentals.
Yeah.
When you're struggling, back to fundamentals. And so it hasn't changed from that standpoint, even though it's changed from the schematic part. The thing that scares me the most is, having been around pro football with John and Jim, and now back into the college game, I'm really nervous that back in the 60s and 70s, there was a huge gap between professional football, where players were paid, and intercollegiate football, where players were there getting education and using football as an educational tool to make them better prepared for life. That's what it was all about back then.
Yeah.
That line now has narrowed so much that there's very little separation between the two, and that scares me because I think the two should be separate. In my judgment, paying players and free agency, transferring from school to school.
Yeah.
Though I had a bad day at practice today, and the coach yelled at me, so I'll type my name into the portal and I'll that's free agency.
Yeah.
That's professional free agency, and that really concerns me.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, the NCAA just passed the one law in California that you can be paid for your likeness, right?
And they have no idea where it's gone.
Yeah, we talked about that on the phone. We had a long discussion.
We have no idea where that's going to go.
No clue.
We're gonna pay for their likeness and image as we recruit them, and then the one that finds the place where their image and likeness can be more financial beneficial for him. That's where we to go there. It's uncharted water, and it's scary. The uncharted water that we're in.
What are some keys for young coaches coming up, want to get into the game? What is 2 pieces of advice that you'd give them?
First of all, enter it with the idea that coaches making a lot of money. You're not in it for the money. What you're in for it is the educational value that it has. The things that you can impart in young people. Scary thing in our society today now is, I believe, youngsters, we all want the same thing. Mm-hmm. A lot of us are fortunate enough we have moms and dads and families that are looking after us and tell us when we're moving in the wrong direction, pat us on the back when we're moving in the right direction, where there's a lot of youngsters that don't have that. So the next line of defense for them is school. Teachers, first grade teachers, second grade teachers, third grade teachers that impart that on them. Some don't get that. Some don't get it maybe until they get involved in a sport, a junior high sport or a high school sport. They find a coach.
Yeah.
They find a minister. They find a mentor, someone in their lives that believe in them. My belief is a youngster can't believe in himself until he finds someone in his life that believes in him.
Okay.
He can't believe in himself until he finds someone in his life that believes in him. Parent, teacher, coach, pastor, Boy Scout, Girl Scout leader, they have to be able to find those. And as you enter into the coaching profession, you should be entering it with the idea, I'm going to be that separator. I'm going to be that difference maker in every young man and every young lady's life that I come into as a teacher or a coach. That's the first thing. Second thing is, don't be impatient. I was impatient. I had the greatest job in the world at Michigan as an assistant coach. But I got that bug, I want to be a head coach. How could I be a head coach? I had to go be a coordinator somewhere. Mm-hmm. So I was offered a coordinator's job, went across the country, out of my element, geographically somewhat. 2 miserable years of my life. Came back, got my head coach, failed, and it was all because I got impatient. The job that you have today is the best job that you'll ever have in your life. Work hard, and if those doors are going to open, they will find you.
Wow, I like
You
that.
don't have to reach out and try to find them. Just work your tail off every day with an enthusiasm unknown to mankind, and those jobs will follow and find you.
I like that. That's really good advice.
Thank you.
So let's switch to your kids. 3 kids. Jim, football coach at Michigan. John, football coach at Baltimore Ravens. Joni, married to Georgia basketball coach. Give me one word or phrase that describes each kid. We'll start with Jim.
Ooh. And then, you got one. Yeah, you may have me there. Before I do that, as I'm thinking about that one, let me give this one to you.
Okay.
I think the gratification that Jackie and myself, as we sit back and we're just talking over dinner or something, is the fact that all three of our kids have found a way into the sports arena.
Yeah.
All of them. Two of them as coaches and one married a coach.
What are the odds?
What are the odds of that? But here's the thing that makes us most proud is, in our lives, in raising our kids at home, they must have seen something that made them move toward that. Just like, for instance, your mom, Joni. You know, she sees Jackie moving the family around every 2 years. She sees come home after a loss where I want darkness. I want no conversation.
You
know what I mean?
Leave me alone.
You leave me alone. I don't want to talk, and she'll back off and allow you that grieving period if you might.
Yeah.
And your mom saw that, where I just went into the room and turned the lights out, and the two of them were there just trying to find.
Yeah.
But she chose, with all of the negative and down things, she chose and saw enough positive things that she would marry a coach. I mean, you would think, coach, you're a coach.
Yeah. I mean, I like it, but it's a hard life, and not many people understand it, which I think is why she is such a great wife.
And why your mother is such a great mother and a great wife. But they saw it, so we must have portrayed something in the way we responded to our work that made them want to do that, right? And then both of them going into coach. So I think that's the most proud I am. What was your question?
Well, one of my questions was, what's your proudest moment as a parent? So I think that's a good one.
I think one of the second most proud part of being a parent is our grandkids.
Oh, good.
I mean, grandkids. I remember you were, because Jay was with us, and I think you were the next one in line, right?
Yeah.
And I remember in Pittsburgh, I think I was coaching in Pittsburgh, right? In 1995. No, I wasn't.
No, you weren't. You didn't live there.
We were living in Western Kentucky.
Yep.
And the day you were born, I remember it like it was yesterday. We were in Bowling Green. We jump in the car and we're driving, and we're getting like hour by hour. We're going on, and we're getting closer. And we're going to make it. We're going to make it, and we didn't. And we were, I think, about Youngstown or someplace, and all at once you came into the world. And, granddaughter. You know, we had a grandson. Now
The best.
But the great story about that, I want this on. I know you got a chance probably to edit things out. This will be on the thing.
I don't want to know.
So your mom is on the phone. First she's talking to Jackie, and then she talks to me to tell me about your birth. Megan is with his daughter. Everything is great except
I know.
Except she has
6 toes.
6 toes. And I goes, Jackie!
That's not really something I publicized.
Jackie, she's got 6 toes. And we're laughing about it, and your mom, for some reason, took a different thing. Whatever you do not tell John or Jim.
And what did you do right after that phone call?
Hung the phone down and called, I can't remember if it was John or Jim. Guess what? Megan only has 6 toes. To which...
Only? No, I had more.
One extra one. She has 6 toes. So, to finish that story off, we're riding in the car, getting closer and closer, and phone ringing, it's your mom. I thought I told you not to tell anyone. I said, well, who did I tell? Well, both John and Jim has just called, and the first thing he said is Megan's got 6 toes. So for that, I probably
it's a proud moment?
It's a proud moment, the birth. Probably the fact that I mentioned you had 6 toes wasn't one of my shining moments.
She knew you were going to tell people. That's just... So, go back to my question. One word or phrase for each kid.
Oh, each kid? All 11?
No, your kid.
Oh,
John,
the
Jim,
3
and
kids.
Joni.
I'm going to tell you what Jackie and I conclusion we came to in the Super Bowl. We were going to the Super Bowl, and we were not ready for that experience. Two sons playing in the 47th Super Bowl.
What are the
We were
odds?
not ready for it. So we went there, and we started, getting questions. And the first question was, compare.
I'm not asking to compare.
I know, but that's kind of where I'm going with this. Compare.
Something that's unique to them.
And we said to compare. Anytime you compare, you demean one or the other. So, does that give me a chance not to answer that question, that answer?
No,
or
just Uncle Jim and Uncle John are different, just in their personalities and their. What about Mom? One word or phrase to describe Joni.
I think your mom is the most focused
Okay.
individual that you would ever want to run into. And
See,
she
that
was
doesn't mean the others.
no, it doesn't. But she's, focused. She was that way when she was small. She saw something, or she chose to move in a direction. She focused on that, and she moved, and she did it with such a passion that you wanted to get behind her and push her because you knew how important it was to her and how meaningful it was in her life. And I see that in the way she raises her children. And I see sometimes it can be a little frustrating for the children that her focus is so focused.
Yeah, I see it.
I can.
Well, that was a good one.
Yep.
Now, back to the others. One word.
Jim, competitive.
Yeah, that's true.
Competitive in anything. You're walking down the street and he wants to walk one step faster than you walk, or he wants to do it one more. John is disciplined and engaging, and when I say that discipline, he has a plan laid out, and the way he engages with people, whether it's in a restaurant or whether it's in a team meeting, he's engaging. Now, I will say this: all three of them have all of those qualities. Some maybe in just a little bit different degree than the other ones, and they're the three of them are far more alike than they are different. Far more alike than they are different. If you just watch them and study them, you'll see that. But if you want to just focus on one thing, you're doing a disservice to yourself, more so than you're doing to them.
Yeah. Okay, well, those are good. I'm glad that you answered that question. I have one more question.
I just want to say I would have not answered that question for anybody but you.
I feel really honored. You don't have a choice. Okay, last question. Ready? Who's got it better than us?
Nobody! Let's do it together. Who has it better than us?
Nobody.
Nobody!
That's done.